So I can remember running cross country for 1 year when I was in the 9th grade. And, just I'm just not a runner. And so when I would run, it was so painful when I would be in a cross country race. But man, there was that hope of the finish line. I knew that, after 15 minutes, this was all going to be over. I was going to cross the finish line, and there was going to be this great sense of relief and this sense of comfort, and there's going to be a great sense of gratification. And so that promise of the finish line is what enabled me to continue to push through the misery of running in a cross-country race. Well, that's a pretty good analogy for the role that heaven plays for those who are suffering, because it reminds us that our suffering is temporary. It's not forever. And that's to the point where Paul in 2 Corinthians is in so much pain. I mean, he has gone through more than anyone could imagine. And yet he describes his sufferings as light and momentary. And it's because he has such a deep hope and confidence in the reality of heaven. And he's able to say light and momentary in a passage where he's been talking about the hope of heaven on and on with such richness, and it gives him this sense of perspective. And so I think that, and you see this in Paul, you see this in Peter, you see this throughout the New Testament in particular, that whenever there's conversation about suffering and perseverance, it's always related to heaven, because there is the promise that this will end, and there's also the promise of a perpetual eternal state where we will never suffer again. We'll never have pain. We will never have despair. We will never feel betrayal or hurt or any of these things. And so, whenever we're in a season of suffering, whenever when we're encountering pain, remembering the temporality of this life and the eternity of our perpetual bliss and freedom from all suffering in heaven, it just puts things in perspective, and it enables us to take the next step.